And Russians are having to deal with how the Ukraine war is affecting almost every part of their daily lives. The war on the edge of Europe is now on its fourth winter and is weighing on Russian households. People are spending less on food, and businesses in the steel, mining and energy sectors are having a hard time. This means the country's economic engine is showing signs of cracks. The effects on the economy are expected to get worse, with inflation rising and consumer demand going down. At the same time, the government is taking on more debt and putting it in place new taxes to deal with the growing budget gap. The earlier resilience spurred by massive fiscal stimulus and record energy revenues is also being tested. The sanctions are starting to weigh on Moscow's revenues even as it expands military spending. Alexander Gabov, Berlin-based director of the Carnegie Russia Eurasia Center, said, based on the overall economic indicators, it would be in Russia's best interest to stop the war now. Gabov added, still to want to end the war, one must see the edge of the cliff. Russia is not there yet. The situation is a sharp contrast with earlier in the war, when gross domestic product was expanding on the back of military-linked investments. That had driven an almost 20% growth in wages in 2024, boosting consumer demand. But that contributed to higher inflation. With the central bank's rate hikes last year, inflation has eased to about 6.8% in early November. But a study from the Center for Macroeconomic Analysis says that the fall in inflation is due to weaker consumer demand. That analysis center is run by Russian defense minister's brother. There has been a dramatic shift in Russia's retail industry. According to local media, 45% of store closures are fashion retailers, with every second store shutting their shops. The state-owned Rossiyskaya Gazeta newspaper showed the demand for electronics has dropped to its lowest level in 30 years. Well, notably, Russians are cutting back on food. That is according to Lender SBER Bank's open data platform that tracks income, spendings, and business activity in real time. Inflation drove up sales for Russia's biggest grocery chain, X5 Group, in the September quarter. But falling demand and rising costs caused a net income decline of about 20%. The Kommersant Daily newspaper found that the sales of milk, pork, buckwheat, and rice fell by 8 to 10% in the last 2 months. Now, Bloomberg spoke to a few Russians and published their comments in a report. But the media house withheld their surnames to avoid any potential repercussions. Now, here's what Russian households had to say. 27-year-old Elena, an event company manager from Moscow region, said prices are now rising faster than wages. The rising cost of imported goods has caused her to alter her shopping habits. She now favors domestic brands but buys fewer garments overall. 40-year-old Denis, a manager from Tambov in central Russia, said the average bill for weekly grocery purchases has more than doubled in recent years. His family has cut back on their fruit and vegetable purchases as they are forced to reevaluate their budget.